Thank you, Forrest. I appreciate that. I've confirmed that we have our court reporter online. Let's go on the record. Today is July 24th, 2025, the current time being a little after 1:30. The question and answer portion, which is the part of the hearing that you just participated in, has concluded. The commission divides a local public hearing into two portions, the first being the question and answer portion, and the second portion being the testimonial portion, which is what we're going to start now. And that's where the commissioners are looking to hear your experiences and your input. The Missouri Public Service Commission has set this time for a local public hearing to give members of the public a chance to comment about Liberty's request for a rate increase. And this is case number ER-2024-0261. The commission is made up of 5 commissioners. We currently have 4 with 1 vacancy. The commission's chair is Kayla Hahn, and there's also Commissioners Maida Coleman, Commissioner Glenn Kolkmeyer, and Commissioner John Mitchell. The commission regulates the rates charged by public utility companies in Missouri to ensure that those rates are just and reasonable. The commission also regulates the quality of service and safety of operations of public utilities. With me today, sitting next to me, is Chair Kayla Hahn. And on our phone connection, we also have Commissioner Glenn Kolkmeyer and Commissioner John Mitchell. Oh, and Commissioner Coleman has joined us. I appreciate that, Brian. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and ask the parties to introduce themselves. First, for Liberty.
Diana Carter for the applicant utility, the Empire District Electric Company, doing business as Liberty.
Thank you. And next for staff.
Tracy Johnson from Staff Counsel's Office.
Thank you. And next for the Office of the Public Counsel.
Nathan Williams, Chief Deputy Public Counsel, appearing on behalf of the public and the Office of the Public Counsel.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We have several intervening parties, if any of those are in attendance and would like to introduce themselves. Seeing none. This is a fairly well-attended hearing, and we do have everyone be given the opportunity to speak to the commission, so we will have to limit comments tonight to about 3 minutes. What I'll do is I'll set a timer, and when that timer goes off, I'll let you know that your time has expired and ask you to go ahead and finish up your thought. This allows for you to make your comments to the commission, but also to allow time for your neighbors who have come out to this hearing to make their comments as well. We do have some sign-up lists, and I will be calling those names first for witnesses. After those names are done, I'll then open it up to anyone else in the audience who has decided that they would like to provide some comments. And I'll also announce at the end of the hearing how to make comments to the commission on its website in case anyone had more comments that they would like to make or know of someone at home that wasn't able to be here. And lastly, mentioning the question and answer portion, I'd like to make sure that I state that the commissioners won't be able to answer any questions. This is an ongoing case and they have not made any decisions yet, and they need to remain impartial until after all of the evidence has been presented. So with that, I'll go ahead and start calling names. Before we get to that, we have found one way to save a little bit of time to make sure that everyone gets a chance to speak to the commissioners, and that is the swearing in. This is an official hearing, and we do swear in our witnesses. So we have found that that takes about half a minute to a full minute for me to swear you in individually. So what I'm going to do now is ask for everyone to raise their hand if you have signed up on the list, and I'm going to swear you in as a group. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do. Thank you. And when you come up to the microphone, I'll ask you to spell your last name for our court reporter. We will have a transcript of this hearing being produced, and then I'll probably confirm that you did agree to be under oath in your testimony. The first name I have on my list is Carol Jones.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. And is Jones common spelling?
Pardon me?
Can you spell your last name for the record, please?
Yes, capital Jones.
Thank you. And to confirm, you did agree that you were under oath in your testimony?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Please go ahead with your comments.
Okay, I think that most important is accountability for the company. They have been just complete failures. I perceive it in their billing practices, in their dealing with the customer, as in my home when they were at my property, using my water without permission, and then charging me for it. So I would like to bring that up. They have a disregard. I'm 75. I get Social Security, and I get a 3% increase. 3% increase on my Social Security. And I just think that the government would run me out of the office if I said, sir, I need a 35, 40% increase in my Social Security. They'd laugh at me. We can't afford this. The elderly people cannot afford this. That this is only one aspect of our life, and this is outrageous. And the worst thing is the confusion in the billing process, and that kind of failure. You know, the people that actually get out there and work, wonderful people, but there's a lot of damage being done, and nobody's being held accountable but us. We're paying the bill, and it's time that y'all pay your own bills, I think. So that's is that well enough?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you coming out this afternoon.
Thank you.
All right, the next witness I have is Patty Cottrell. And I'm going to go ahead and read the next couple names just so that you're prepared. Linda Barton, Charles McDonough, I might mispronounce some names, and I do apologize for that, and Don Fear. Ms. Cottrell, would you please spell your last name for the court reporter?
Kittrell.
Thank you. And just to confirm, you did take the oath to tell the truth in your testimony?
Yes, sir, I did.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay, one of the concerns that I have, like everybody else, everything's going up. We all know that. I took a look at what the average annual income is for Springfield, $67,000. Coming down Highway 60, Republic, is $58,000. Marionville is $29,000. Aurora is $43,000. Now, for me personally, my annual income is even less than Marionville. One thing I did was I put solar on. Now, I'm fully aware that solar is not going to take care of all of the electricity. But what I am charged, that's going to go up. So what was the purpose of doing solar? And as it's been brought up before, I also checked on it. 18% of the population here in Aurora is 65 and older. So, you know, we could use some help, you know, sorry. You know, like I said, with the solar, some of that goes back to you guys, but that rate, from what I can tell, isn't changing like what you're charging me. And that, I think, needs to be fixed also. 39% is fine, but, you know, 82 would be better, but, you know, that's how it is. But that's what I will hope you consider. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Cottrell. I appreciate you being here this afternoon. Linda Barton? Okay, we can circle back. Charles McDonough? Is it McDonough or McDonough?
I thought you guys were from Joplin. It's McDonough.
McDonough?
Yeah. And
No.
it's the common spelling.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we can go ahead and run through that?
Did you want me to spell that? I could.
Yes, please.
MC, capital D-O-N-O-U-G-H.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And just to confirm, you did agree that your testimony would be under oath today?
I have some figures here, and to the very best of my knowledge, they are accurate. Yes, sir.
Okay, please go ahead.
The Social Security Administration uses a consumer price index to calculate on an annual basis the cost of living for recipients to try and keep their heads, all these gray heads, above water. Over the past 10 years, we have seen two very significant increases in Social Security, I believe in 21 and 22, including the largest increase in history for the Social Security cost of living. All of those 10 years added together do not total 30%. The projected Social Security increase for next year is currently calculated at 2.6 to 2.7%. Most of that increase will be erased by an exorbitant, outrageous 11% increase in Medicare. So most Social Security recipients will not see an increase in their take-home next year. According to Salary.com, the senior executives for Liberty, the chief accounting officer makes a little over $1.5 million. His compensation for 2024, slightly over $1.5 million. Chief legal officer, $2.1 million. The chief financial officer, $2.9 million. The president, over $3 million. And the CEO, $5.8 million. The five highest paid executives in the company were compensated over $15.5 million last year in a single year. Now, I don't know if you all are in that neighborhood. If you make over $1.5 million per year, perhaps $50 a month is not a big deal. But for most of us down here, we're going to have to make some adjustments. And changing from Marie Callender pot pies to Great Value pot pies is not going to do it. So I would just like to see Liberty get in line with the national numbers that we're having to deal with in every other part of our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you being here this afternoon. Don Fear.
First of all, congratulations for pronouncing it correctly, and it's spelled Foxtrot Echo Echo Romeo.
Thank you, sir. And please confirm that you raised your hand and we're
I
going to
did.
state your testimony under oath. Thank
I
you. Go
did.
ahead. I'm tripping over my tongue today.
All righty. First of all, I would like to acknowledge the frontline folks for Empire and Liberty. They have a pretty thankless job occasionally when some of the folks that are upset give them a jingle. They've been working diligently on their billing issues, which are completely still screwed up, and I think it's a part of the situation that needs to be recognized by the Public Service Commission in regards to the rate increase, because if you haven't got your ducks in a row, you don't really require a reward. No reward to billing is correct. The models, they talked about models. Models means you're educated. That's a wonderful thing. Practical education is probably more important upon many occasions. I don't think your models work. Once your house is in order, that's great. Be happy to talk to you about a rate increase. And no, I don't make a lot of money. But I'll tell you what, the gentleman that spoke about a rate increase perhaps put in over 3 years is good, not 10%, because that's going to work out to be 40% plus, maybe 6, maybe 7%, and do that over 3 years. You might have a better chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fear. I appreciate you being here today. The next name I have on the list is Trudy Adair, and then Carolyn Hurley, and then Diana Seyfried. Ms. Adair, please spell your last name for the court reporter.
Adair.
Thank you. And just to confirm, you did state that you'd be testifying under oath.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Please go ahead with your comments.
Okay. What has become apparent is Liberty and Empire have made huge financial investments that we didn't get to vote for, and we are now having to pay for those bad investments. Here's a statement. A major driver of this rate case is Empire's investment in its new customer first software system. Okay, so we're talking about the system that just rolled over 6 months ago that everybody is still reeling from, and I'm still not satisfied because they could never get their calculations correct. And the lady from Liberty said several times today that they had calculated incorrectly on several different things. She was talking about the water usage, the this usage, the that. So how do we know they're not calculating incorrectly now? We're still, why don't they get their last situation town hall meeting straightened out, where we had this huge changeover in their new investment software, and it was a complete dud, and everybody is still reeling from that. It's really hard to trust people that keep making errors. And then this whole $91 million that they requested in November, and then all of a sudden recalculated, and now they're asking for an additional 50%, $152 million. Basically, what I personally think has happened, they invested in the green energy, a pipeline, whatever it was. Trump gets in office and cuts that funding off. Now they're reeling and charging all of us for their bad investments, just like when Wall Street crashed in 2008 because of the housing market. And who came and bailed them out? The government. But yet we, the consumer, the poor little person on less than $40,000, $30,000 a month a year fixed income, we're having to adjust to all of this. It is completely unfair. These shareholders don't give a damn. They're about the bottom line. They're making millions of dollars. And they keep charging us for all of the taxes and the different fees that can vary on usage charges. She even admitted that what all was it? It was usage charges that fluctuate, that they make errors on, and then the 91 million, they said they made a big error on their calculation. Who's running that finance department for Empire is what I want to know. Let's get some stats from them. Let's see some comparisons of what they're really paying out, what they're actually charging us for. Because all we see is this bullshit. We don't know what they're really charging us for. So I think until we get the last thing figured out, let's deal with that before we up 30%, which is outrageous. People cannot survive on this. People cannot survive. It needs to stop.
Thank you, Ms. Adair. I appreciate you being here this afternoon. Carolyn Hurley. Thank you, Ms. Hurley. Please spell your name for our court reporter.
Hurley.
And just to confirm, you did state that your testimony would be under oath.
Yes, sir.
Please go ahead.
Okay, I was here in June, and I went out there and was talking to the ladies out there, and they said, well, this is your normal billing, and don't worry about it. And I said, okay. And I came in, and I was accidentally sitting beside her. She looked at my bill, and she went, and I thought, oh, there's something wrong with my bill. So I went back to my last year in bills. My bill every month is $13.85. I thought, that's not right. So I went to Joplin and sat there for hours. I'll even give you a copy of all this if you want. For them to say, well, we don't see anything. And then the lady come by and she looked down. She says, oh, you're not being paid wattage. We're going to go back for the last month, and we're going to look at the last month because it's up in the air somewhere between your meter and billing, and we're going to charge you for it so that you can pay it. But we'll be nice, and we will divide it by 4 so it won't hurt you so bad. I make $1,000 a month, and I get to pay a year's worth of wattage? I don't think so. So I went in July, in fact, July 8th, and I paid my bill again. It was $13.85. So it's still in the air, whatever it is. I did the investigations. I investigated, and I have a picture of my kitchen light on. I have a picture of the meter. I even have a picture of the internet that says no meter exists for this account. I got electricity. Everybody else I talk to goes, shut up, shut up. I'm going, okay, but I'm an honest person. I don't feel like I need to pay for the last 13 months because it's not my mistake. But I also want to make sure I am heard that something is wrong. Now, if August comes along and it's $13.85, yes, I'm shutting up. Would you like to have these?
Yes, I would. I would like to also make sure they aren't your originals.
I have copies of these
Okay.
on my computer.
Okay.
And see? There is a meter. There's a light on. And what does that say?
Oh, yeah.
That's January through July.
Okay. Would you go back to the microphone? I have just a couple follow-up questions. Ms. Hurley, when did you notice, I'm sorry, you said you went back and looked at last year's bills. What month is the start of your review?
Okay, my house was 403, and that one there's 405. I built a house inside of my shop, and I went from a 110 electric to 220, and they said my bill would go down. My shop was actually connected to my house, and so now I had 2 electric bills. But my electric bill in July of last year, okay, let me back up just a little bit more. I called and asked for the meter to be put on my shop. The gentleman, and I do not remember his name, I'm sorry, I'm bad at names. He said that due to the fact that they have a new system coming in, that it would be after that. And I said, I'm patient. Then I called back 2 weeks later, and oh, he's on vacation. I waited. 2 weeks later, I called, and they said, oh, you've already got a meter. And I went, I do. So I took a picture, and I sent it to Liberty of the meter box with a cardboard in it. And so the next day they came out, and when they did, they said, you do not have a sticker. So I got the commissioner to come out the inspector to come out, and he put a sticker on there. Then the very next day they came out and they run a meter. I had electricity. That was in July or June. So of 24.
You were testifying about a bill for $13.85. When did that start?
July of last year?
July of 2024?
Yes, sir.
And that's when you first noticed it?
No, I mean, I just thought it was the normal bill. I noticed it when I came up here last month, and someone goes, and I went, okay, there's something wrong with my bill. So I go to Joplin. I live in Miller. I drive to Joplin. I go, is there something wrong with my bill?
I've got all that. I'm trying to get the dates. Did you look at your June 2024 bill to see if it was also $13.85?
Yes, sir. It's in there.
You said it started in July of 2024?
Yes. Now,
Okay.
July is not in there. July of 2024 is not in there. I can get that for you.
No,
but
I'm
it's-
just asking if you know right now, off the top of your head, did you look past July's bill?
There was
back
no
in time?
electric bill for the shop in,
Oh, I see. Okay. So these are the beginning of the shop billings. I gotcha.
yes.
Okay.
And I do believe, if I remember right, my July bill of 2024 was $13.81.
I just saw it, yes. Okay.
81 cents. July 2025 is $13.85. I gave you January through July.
Is the July, I don't have the July bill. Is the July 2025 bill still $13.85?
It should be in there.
July? So am I understanding that your second meter, your shop meter, has always been billed at $13.85?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There's no wattage. But I have lights. I just don't have wattage.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you,
I
sir.
appreciate you being here today. Ms. Seyfried? Thank you, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name.
No, you did well. It's Seifried.
Thank you. Would you please spell your last name for our court reporter?
Yes, Seifried.
Thank you, ma'am. And just to confirm, you did state that you would be testifying under oath.
Yes.
Please go ahead with your comments.
I was going to do more questions, but I guess I didn't get them answered, so I'm going to make them into a comment. But the first one I wanted to mention is, am I to understand that if the problems are not taken care of, the billing problems and the customer care problems are not taken care of, that you will not be able to get the increase? So the increase comes after those things are taken care of. That's what I got from the last person speaking up here.
I'm sorry if you're asking us a question.
Mm-hmm.
Myself and the commissioner can't answer
okay.
questions. That portion was earlier.
Yeah.
But I would ask that maybe you could contact counsel for staff or
Mm-hmm.
counsel for the public counsel. They might be able to assist you with your question.
Okay. That question really was, it was my understanding that that's what's going to happen, that the increase will not be available until all these problems were taken care of. But that's, what I'm doing is just stating a fact, or what I thought they said. This is a bleed over from the last meeting we had. And I mentioned because there was no place for people to go pay their bills. And a lot of people don't pay online. They don't have phones. They don't have a card. And they used to pull up at the company and pay in cash or check if they happen to have one. We have this brand new beautiful building. And everybody was so excited because, oh, now we can go to the big, beautiful building. I walked up there to pay my bill and the door's locked. We have no idea what they're doing at that building. It's one of the newest, biggest things we have in town. And I can't see why it would be impossible to have some kind of an office with one or two people that can accept people's payments. Because sometimes our bills, by the way, you have no problem with the post office maybe, but we do. Sometimes I don't get anything in my post office box, and then 3 days later it's stacked. And maybe one of those is an electric bill. So we run into problems probably with our money going back and forth. So I would like to see that they would use our new big building that people can come and pay their bills here in Aurora. And the building might help solve some of the problems, I would think. The other thing is customer care. No business stays in business with bad customer care. I've encountered that. I have several properties, and they get mine all mixed up, and I won't even go into it. I can drag out things and show you, but when I call, sometimes you get cut off. Well, let me check. Maybe you need to talk to someone else, that type of thing. I feel like they have not been informed on how to treat the customer, or they do not know where to go to get the answers. And we're just looking for answers. That's all we need is answers. I'm just wondering if they're having any training, and nobody can answer this. This is a suggestion, having training by someone who is respected in the company, knows how to train beautifully, instead of bringing in a high-paid consultant. I've seen that in companies. You bring in a high-paid consultant, and the people just go, you know. But you get somebody who can train these people. If they're worthy of paying a salary, get them trained. Because what we're encountering is the difference between customer care and the billing. And it just breaks down. No one can help us. And I have paid and paid and paid, and I had a big package for the other night. I could bring all my bills, but I had one that came in one day, and I looked at my bills and got them set. Got another big envelope, which $1.14 every time they send us a bill. Big one. And the next day, I got this real thick one, and it had 4 more bills of the same thing. One of which, I had $230-something on a bill, and I started going through all the pages, and then it has at the very end minus, like I had already paid the $230. And I tried to catch on to that with customer service. No help. My concern is customer service and billing. They need to get together. We need to be talking to someone, and they say, I know who can help you in billing. I'm going to connect you. And maybe we can get some help. We all want to pay our bills. I don't want anybody cutting off anybody's electricity. I know it's against the law without some kind of notice, but there's just too many people in this town that are confused, or sometimes they can't pay their bill, or they have no way to pay their bill. So I guess I'm just going with that. It's not just billing problems, it's connected to the customer service. Thank you very much, and we appreciate that you all came to Aurora. We were just amazed. Nobody comes to Aurora. So thank you for coming and listening to us.
Thank you for being here this afternoon. Nathan Birch. And he will be followed by Larry Francis and Regina Payne. Mr. Birch, please spell your last name for our court reporter, or is that Bush?
No, Birch is right. My handwriting's terrible. B-U-R-C-H.
Thank you. And just to confirm, you did state that your testimony would be under oath?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
My name is Nathan Birch. I'm the pastor of Aurora Baptist Temple here in town. I'm here representing the church as a entity, but also a church that has a large demographic of senior citizens. And as a church whole, we paid Liberty last year $23,787. That was our utility bill last year. We have the ability to pay it. We have the resources. We're large enough, that's okay. This year, that'll be an additional $8,000 for 2026 if it goes through. In the Q&A session, I used the example of phasing was the word when council and I were talking, and he rebutted with the idea that in the long run, that the rate would increase about 40% instead of 30% if it was done in phases. Well, the problem with the car analogy is the reason people borrow money to buy a car is they can't afford $50,000 on the day they sign the line. They got to go 6 years out to get the car, right? I would argue the same thing should be said about perhaps these upgrades. Maybe these upgrades can't and shouldn't be done overnight. Or maybe if they've already been installed, that's not us. That was decided by the company as a whole. We have a Christian school that we're partnering with that takes ownership or should I say, is able to take over the property in a few weeks. We already negotiated a contract with them. They'll be using the building 10 months a year, 4 days a week. After that contract was written and signed, I got a letter in the mail stating that utilities were going up 30%. Now I have to go back to that superintendent and that principal, and we need to revisit this contract. And the only way they're probably going to be able to stay open is if they pass down some of these expenses to their parents of the students, right? And I understand that Liberty has costs themselves, and it always finds its way downhill. I understand business. And first of all, I do want to say that Liberty's response during these storms was phenomenal. So let me put that on record, that they were great. I also brought up in the Q&A about could we see the evidence of a profit and loss statement regarding Aurora. And I was told that basically they don't calculate it based on areas. That sounds ridiculous. The idea that they can't tell us what our costs are to them and how much revenue they make. That sounds ridiculous, that we cannot see how much of a blessing or a curse we are to Liberty as a whole. I'm not just talking about Empire, I'm talking about the whole conglomerate. We can use the phrase parent company all we want, but it's all one unit, okay? The third thing I would have to say is, this is from the Liberty website. Customer-centric, foster a positive internal and external customer experience at every stage of the customer journey to build customer loyalty and satisfaction. I don't feel with the recent billing issues that necessarily has been accomplished. And there's some times in business where maybe you don't cash in chips you don't have. And I would say right now, Liberty has not earned the good faith of its, shall we say, clients or customers, that we could trust what they are asking would go to what they're wanting to put it to, and if it's really necessary. There's just not enough clarity and there's not enough transparency, and it's a little too rough right now in the sense of the customer and client relationships. The last thing I'll say, right under customer-centric, they say integrity. Always honest, we do the right thing and adhere to a moral and ethical principle for self and team. I would ask the question if 30% is a ethical and moral number. I present a budget to the church every year. Sometimes we have a high increase.
Mr. Birch, your time has expired. Can you please finish up?
I can. I would just say this. I have an ethical and moral obligation to really count the cost at the church with the budget that we present, and I've got to stand and give account for it. Right now, I don't see any accountability. I don't see any transparency. And I feel maybe this would not be the time to put this through. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. If we can keep the extra comments from the crowd down, though, that'll help us make sure that our neighbors get to testify as well. The next name that I have on the list is Larry Francis, and then Regina Payne, and then Tony Kennedy. Larry Francis. All right, we'll circle back. Regina Payne. And Tony Kennedy. Would you please spell your last name for our court reporter, sir?
Kennedy.
Thank you. And just to confirm, you stated earlier that you would be testifying under oath.
Yes.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
So I came to talk about, we're all fielding concerns about Liberty. It's become a part of every conversation. We have meetings in public, we have meetings, with community members, we go to events, online, in the news, and a lot of this is really kicked up in pace, obviously due to the rate increase request and some loose ends from the billing hearing from June. And it's hard for them to not feel a little helpless, especially for our, neighbors on fixed income, the nonprofits that work hard to try to squeeze dollars to help people stay afloat, keep them from digging a deeper hole or one they can't get out of. And for many of them, they can't just go get a second job or come out of retirement and go back into the workforce. So they lose something, and we all do. They are now no longer to participate in a lot of the activities and the events because they can't afford it, or they're not a part of the local economy anymore. And, we're not alone. This is all our community, a lot of surrounding communities, Liberty customers across the state. We see it on the news. You go to different areas, southeast, everywhere you go, it's the same message. And part of the problem I have is the language we hear from Liberty not necessarily meeting up with their actions, especially in terms of energy efficiency and savings. You see time and time again, they're making strides to increase efficiency and diversity and power to lower prices, yet we haven't seen a meaningful decrease ever that I've seen. Each time this kind of thing happens, it's a new normal, and we set the bar and we move up from there. So I want to go over a couple quotes that I pulled from the Liberty Utilities Central website, and to give you a little bit of background on what I mean by that. So starting with the 600 megawatt wind energy project that went in 3 fields, that's went in from December 2020 to May 21. In that article, they say Liberty's transition to clean renewable wind energy protects our environment through lower carbon emissions and saves customers money. So the stated estimates are 169 million over 20 years and 300 million over 30. Riverton Transmission Project. This transmission will be a benefit to all of our customers. It opens the floodgates, allow more flow of energy, reducing transmission costs. Big picture view. Can be a very, very controversial topic overall. I think it's a good thing, he said, but the access, the cheap power we have from Liberty's wind farms also means lower fuel costs. And I could go on through these are all available right there on the website, but each one kind of ends the discussion in we're lowering costs, improving efficiency, and we're here to ask for 40% increase. So finally, I want to highlight a small paragraph from a letter I recently wrote. It reads, "We are still awaiting resolution on the prior hearing issues as billing madness continues, and communication has yet to see measurable improvement. While I wish for every utility in Missouri to find success, I want to see Missouri reward those who are truly operating within the spirit of offering safe and reliable utility services at just, reasonable, and affordable rates." And I would be remiss if I didn't thank the Commission for holding these hearings, because if you didn't, I don't think we would be heard at all. We wouldn't have a platform, so thank you for that. But I would urge you to consider that last line of my statement above. Safe and reliable utility services at just, reasonable, and affordable rates. That is the first bullet point of the mission statement of the Missouri Public Service Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you being here today.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Are you here in your individual capacity?
I am here in my individual capacity, yes.
You do have another role, don't you?
I do.
And what is that?
Mayor, City of Aurora.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Williams. The next name I have is Alda Able to. The first name starts with an A, and the last name appears to start with an A. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Okay, we'll move to David McLan.
I'll have to postpone my statement till next meeting.
Tonight? Okay. Sherilyn Harper. And following that will be Roy Russell and Jimmy Turner. Thank you, Ms. Harper. If you would spell your last name for our court reporter.
H-A-R-P as in Paul, E-R.
Thank you. And just to confirm, you did state your testimony to be under oath?
Yes.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay, I am a mom of 4, still at home. In the wintertime, my electric bill runs about $600 a month. I am all electric. A 30% increase would be almost $800. Where do I get that other $200 from? Thank you. do I not buy my kids school supplies that year? And this is for like 4 months, so it's actually $800. Do I not buy my kids shoes? Do they have to go to school barefoot? Do I not feed my kids? Like, that's a lot of money. I cannot afford that. You know, I'm probably not the only working mom that can't afford it, but I was blessed to have today off. Everybody else is probably at work. We can't afford this. You know, I have to cut back and I have to, what can we live without in order to pay my bills? And I look at this request and is this really necessary? Like, it looks like unnecessary expenses to me. There was one part of it that would probably benefit us. Do we have to do all of this at once? You know, can we work on one project at a time, like others have said? Like, I couldn't even believe they asked us of this when they don't even have the billing issue fixed. And I live in Miller, so I'm not affected like, you know, Aurora citizens are. But that's just a lot of projects when you don't even have one that's actually good right now. You know, I can't wrap my head around it. This is too much, way too much. And I mean, I work. A lot of guys can't. You know, my income is a lot more than these guys. How are they going to afford it? Please don't do this. Please do not give Liberty 31% more than we can't afford what we have right now. We're struggling. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Harper. I appreciate you coming out this afternoon. The next name I have on the list is Roy, I believe it's Russell, and then Jimmy Turner and David Brinley. Is there a Roy? Okay. Mr. Turner, come on down. Please spell your last name for our court reporter.
My last name is Turner.
And just to confirm, you stated you'd give your testimony under oath.
Yes, I did.
Please go ahead.
I am a local business owner. I own the bowling alley here in Aurora, and we provide a complete entertainment for the people in our city. An increase of what you're asking is going to raise my electric bill roughly about $1,400 to $1,500 a month. Now, I'm here not just for my business, but for all business in the area. You think you're just charging these people 30%, but by the time you tack on people like me that have to raise our prices, people at the grocery stores have to raise their prices to keep their freezers going, you're tacking on another 10 to 15% to those people as well. And you have a lady over here crying she can't put shoes on her kids' feet. How's she going to buy food when we have to raise our prices? I'm going to be the first business to go because the first thing they're going to cut out is entertainment because they're not going to have it. We keep raising these prices. I'm about priced out. I mean, right now I'm going to be charging more than people going to Springfield on a different electric company to be able to keep their business open. And I'm going to be more than that, so it's cheaper for them to drive to Springfield to do whatever they want to do than it is to do in our local community. And that hurts us because that's tax money out of our community. That's people having to move out of our community because there's going to be less jobs. I employ 9 people right now, and what you're proposing on me is about $20,000 a year. That's 2 or 3 part-time kids that work for me. I'm going to have to let go in order to stay in business. So all these people that are on fixed incomes, how are they going to be able to afford your electric bill and afford to go to the grocery store because the grocery stores now have went up, gas prices went up, everything runs on electricity. So you're not just raising us 30 to 40%, you're raising approximately about 50% by the time you look at what it's going to cost everywhere else. You're gonna cost me my life savings. I poured into this business 3 years ago to buy this, to keep it open. It's an icon in this community for almost 60 years. And it could possibly go way over this because people aren't gonna have the disposable income to come see me, and I'm gonna be the first one to be cut out. Then they're gonna start figuring out, how are we gonna buy groceries? How are we gonna go out to eat? You're gonna close down lots of different things in this community, and it's gonna be a ghost town. So I think that, with the billing practices and everything else, if you can't get that right and you can't bill us right, how can you charge us more? Because obviously, if you're not billing us right, that 30% could be 40, 50%. Not just the 30, because if my bill's supposed to be $500 and my bill, because your billing practices are $600, 30% on that $600 is another $30. Well, you take that for the whole community, it's gonna hurt everybody. And this is a poor community. This is not like Springfield or Kansas City or big areas where everybody's making $20, $30 an hour. A lot of the jobs in this town are minimum wage, not much above minimum wage. They can't afford. We got lots of retired community, been here all their lives. Going to have to think about selling their homes, move into places that they can afford. And they shouldn't have to do that because you guys overspend. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. I appreciate you being here this afternoon. The next names we have are David Brindley, Brad Gray, E.D. Whitty. Mr. Brindley, if you
Brindley,
would.
B-R-I-N-L-E-Y, and I have received the oath.
Thank you, sir. Please go ahead with your statement.
Well, to start off with, let's give a simple, practical example that everyone can understand and get behind. Social Security, which a lot of people in these small communities, they're retirement communities, and they are, particularly Marionville, which has, the Methodist Manor there. It's a retirement community. So I had a pretty good job. I get pretty good Social Security. But with what I make, the increase will amount to, my total electric bill will amount to about 11% of my Social Security. My wife gets a little bit less than half of my Social Security, which is typical of the wife versus the husband. It'll amount to a 22% of her Social Security check just to pay for the electric. Almost a quarter of her Social Security. Men typically die before women. So whenever she's alone, it's going to be like the typical joke about little old lady on Social Security eating cat food. So is she going to be able to get the meaty Friskies, or is she going to be stuck with the cheap, stinky stuff? My wife doesn't even like cat food. But that's literally what it's going to boil down to. Can you make it on Social Security with a quarter of your income going just for the electric bill? Where's your groceries, rent, taxes, property taxes, car, gasoline, everything else? So beyond the practical example, you have the problem of mismanagement or misuse of things. As in, for instance, they bought all new electric meters when they took over, never even used them, but they billed us for them. We had to pay for them. They've never been used. Other states, and business should be local. Their profit and loss should be confined to the state or the area of the state where they're doing business. But we're paying for mistakes that were made in Texas, and we'll be paying for them for the next several years because this utility has more than one area they work in. We're also paying for some California fire damage for them. That has nothing to do with us. Their profit and loss is here. Whatever they invest in equipment is here. If they use the equipment, fine. If they don't use the equipment, we never should have had to pay for it. And we should not be paying for expenses they're incurring in other areas, just here. We have some occasional ice storm, maybe once every 10 years here. That's a viable cost. But all these for outside areas is not. And we should not have to be, have that included in what they're wanting for their rate increase. That's it.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here this afternoon. The next name we have is Brad Gray, followed by E.D. Whitty, and then Billy Ruddock. Thank you, sir. I knew it was a couple, and then May Ruddock. Brad Gray, E.D. Whitty, Mr. Ruddock. Thank you, sir. If you would please spell your last name for our court reporter.
It's R-U-D-D-O-C-K.
And just to confirm, you did state that you'd be testifying under oath. Please
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead.
I am disabled. I am retired. About 2 years ago, I about died. My wife, we spent our whole savings, maxed out our credit cards so I could live today. One of my medicines is going to cost, if I didn't have my insurance that I'm paying monthly for, would cost me $40,000 a year, and I can't afford that. But I got my insurance. You let this rate increase go through, I'm not going to be able to afford to keep my insurance. And therefore, I cannot live like this. If you allow this rate increase to go through, me and my wife will sell our house. We will be forced to sell our house and move out of this community. I have been here since 1986. And I like this community, but I will not stay under Liberty. When her sister lives in a different part of the state, when she heard about the rate increase, she was just astounded about it. We have had people tell us that when they sell their house, they will look for a place that Liberty does not own the electric company because they can't afford it. You cannot ask people to pay another 40% on what they are paying now in this community because I am not the minority here. I'm not the only one that's disabled. I'm not the only one that's living on disability and having to pay. I don't even have a car payment now. I don't have a car payment, and I'm not going to buy a new car because I can't afford it. And I pay a little bit extra each month on my electric bill so I can be able to afford my medicines and be able to afford to go to Kansas City for my doctor's appointments and my doctor's appointments in Joplin. I've been to the doctor over 20 times this year to be able to just stay alive. I'm not going to be able to have this buffer on my electric where I've been paying just a little bit extra each month to where I can keep my electric bill down. This is going to eat it up. And then I got to figure out what I'm going to not take as far as medicines. I'm going to have to figure, we're going to sell our house and move. And that's all I've got to say. My wife has something to say.
Same last name, R-U-D-D-O-C-K.
Thank you, ma'am. And to confirm, you also stated to be testifying under
Yes.
oath. Thank you. Go
Yes,
ahead
sir.
with your comments.
When we received that notice that it was going to be 39.5%, 39.45% increase in our range, because the government and everybody said, you need to put whatever you can into your houses to keep your utilities down lower, to not use as much electricity. We did that. We put the good windows in. We put all the insulation in. We don't run the air conditioning and the heater to where we think we're at the beach or or in Alaska or something. We try to be extremely careful with how we use our electricity. It's an expensive bill that comes every single month. They want us, who are trying our hardest not to have an expensive electric bill, that's following the rules to not waste electricity, to pay $39.45, and the person that doesn't have the insulation, that maybe, sorry, his mom would like have the heater on and the screen door open, trying to heat the house. We don't do that. We don't live like that. But they want us to meet up almost to the price that they pay when they're not being good stewards of what they're receiving. That's one problem. Another problem is I had to go to Springfield a while back, and I was at a car dealership. And the gentleman, the dealer, said to me, "Where are you from?" I said, "Aurora." He goes, "Oh, the town with the most expensive electricity there is." Everybody knows. Everybody knows liberty. Everybody knows they don't want liberty. You can go down the road just a couple miles and get in Berry County. They don't have these kind of rates. In fact, we had a friend out there that was doing housework that had big, massive window leaking air one winter. And they were having to fix it and replace it. Our electric bill was $300. His was $90. And the wind was blowing through his house. Ours was not. Ours was not. Another thing, my dad had his own business for a long time. And when he needed to fix something in the business, he took it out of his money. It was his business. He wasn't getting grants. He wasn't getting tax breaks. He wasn't getting all the stuff that these utilities are getting. And then going, we're going to bring all this money in from the government, but yet we're going to make you pay also. And we're going to keep our money and live our lavish style as a CEO or whoever, while you guys suffer. We don't mind taking your little bit of money. Just don't take any from ours. It's our company, but we will not spend our money to do it. Y'all, we are not all dumb just because we don't make a ton of money. And that's how they're treating us, like we would have no idea. And then because it's a monopoly, which it is a monopoly, we have no choice. We have no choice. They say, you're going to pay 39.45 increase. Too bad, so sad. Who are you going to go? Where are you going to go? You're going to have to sell your house, pack up, move, and go to somewhere else if that's what you're going to have to do, or you're going to pay this 39.45. And he's right. Not counting my medical, just his alone. No one's taking that into account. The people that literally are suffering, trying to figure out the medical costs and everything else besides the regular living. We're not going out and enjoying fun. I'm sorry to the guy who has the strike zone. We can't do that. We've already cut everything down to nothing. And they want us to pay another 39.45 so the CEO and everybody else can sit comfortable while they're still getting their breaks from the government. It's not right. And asking us to foot it is not right. And you really need to really look into it and not just consider that they want to make sure that they're living their lavish lifestyle. Because that's what it boils down to. That's their company. They need to invest in their company, not expect us to invest into it wholeheartedly. Pay for everything. Why they do nothing and but just take in the money. There's a problem with it. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you both being here today. The last name I have on the list is Jeff Karner. And after that, I'll open it up to the audience, anyone who did not sign up that would still like to testify. Mr. Karner, I appreciate your patience. Please spell your last name for our court reporter.
C-A-R-N-E-R, and I swore in.
Excellent. Please go ahead with your comments.
Thank you, all you guys, for being here, and the committee that's listening to this. Hopefully they are hearing this and taking it to heart. I feel for the Empire reps that were up here. I wouldn't want to be in their shoes at meetings like this, but I didn't have the heart, the question and answer. I thought asking them if they personally thought this proposal was fair and ethical, but I knew that would put them in a bad situation, so I didn't ask them that. But how I came to be here, I got the notice in the mail, like everybody did. I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. Oh, Liberty's wanting another little pay hike. You know, what I'm gonna do, so didn't pay much attention to it. And I've got my house in Ozark for sale, and I was showing it to a prospective buyer. And they really liked it. Him and his wife really liked it. And about half, 3/4 way through me showing it to him, he's like, who's your electrical provider? I said, Liberty. Whoa, he had a cow. Oh, I didn't want to hear that. I did not want to hear that. They're the highest. I'm like, well, I know there's a little higher, but anyway, that was, well, it wasn't the only reason, but the contributing factor of them not purchasing the property. He called me 3 days later and told me they were out, and that was a part of it. But so that's what got my attention. So I went to the Branson meeting last night and really got my eyes opened. I had no idea Liberty was owned by a Canadian company at all, and it's as big a company as it was, and I'm like, wow, that didn't sit with me. And I know our prices are already a little higher there. Liberty's always been higher, but they've always had great service other than their billing catastrophe. They've always been on the spot if you had problems. I've always had good service. I can't complain about that other than their messed up billing stuff, and obviously their management has issues. But I said, okay, but the house I'm living in now was with White River, and if this proposal would go through, Liberty'd be almost double of what they're charging. And they kind of do have a monopoly. You know, they say, well, you can change providers you want. It's not like, you know, I don't like this grocery store, I'm going to go down the street. I don't like this gas station, I'll go down the street. You can't just change providers. It's and we know management's overpaid and messed up billing, and so can you trust the numbers they're giving the commission on the rest of the stuff? That would be highly questionable. But the monopoly part, it's kind of like, you know, if it was if they was an oil petroleum company and they said, well, you know, we've had some screw ups, we're going to raise our prices, we're going to be double than what competitors are, so instead of $3 a gallon, we'll charge $6 a gallon. Well, then you wouldn't go to that station, you'd go down the block or around the street or 3 miles down the road to buy the normal price stuff. You don't have that option with the electric company. It's not that simple. I'm afraid they're just, the whole thing seems so unfair and unethical. The people that use more electric, they want to charge them a lower rate, and the people that use less, they want to charge a higher rate. That just sounds like part of the rich get richer, poor get poorer thing. That just doesn't sound fair. How this can be considered is beyond me. I kind of think in the back of my mind they're asking so much because it's easier to come down than ask. You're selling a used car or whatever, you're not going to ask a low price and try to get more. I feel like they're asking such a phenomenal bump that when we settle for 20 or 24%, they'll make the public feel like, oh, public did okay. We won because they only got 24%. You know, I think they got to do business. If they're doing business right, you know, and need the money, you know, 2% or something to get them by. You know, everything's gone higher. Do the job right. Give them 2% and see how they handle. They've mismanaged so much, and it's part of our infrastructure. It's pretty vital. If they can't run it properly at a competitive price, I'm sure somebody would buy them. that could do it. I mean, the government bailed out General Motors when they were upside down, you know, and I'm sure the government would take over for them if they couldn't handle this, because it's a vital part of our infrastructure. So use some common sense and don't let this happen. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kerner. I appreciate you being here this afternoon. As stated, that ends our sign-up sheet witnesses. If anyone has not testified yet that would like to come up and give their comments. If not, I will be ending this hearing in just a minute or so. We allow written comments on the website. I hesitate to let you come back up only because I would kind of have to let everybody come back up to talk again. I apologize, but let me give the announcement on how to make written comments. On our website, which is psc.mo.gov, in the upper right-hand corner is a link that says Submit Comments. And this case number is ER-2024-0261. Thank you, and I understand it's the end of the hearing. It seems like it would be very easy, but we've tried to be really fair to everyone, and we've had to limit comments for time to make sure that everyone got to speak. So I sincerely apologize, but please leave a comment on the website. Any other witnesses? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and conclude our hearing. Are there any closing remarks from our commissioners?
On behalf of the entire commission, I just want to thank you for spending your afternoon with us. We know many of you have been here since probably before noon, and we're approaching 3 o'clock, and we know that your time is very valuable. But the information that you've given us is also very valuable. So know that we are listening to you, and that we hear you, and that we're going to take that into consideration before we make any decision. Thank you.
Yes, thank you all. I will repeat the submit comments instructions just for anyone else. It's psc.mo.gov. That's the website. And in the upper right-hand corner is a link that says submit comments. And make sure and include this case number. And that's ER-2024-0261. With that, we will go ahead and adjourn this hearing and go off the record. Thank you all. I appreciate you being here today.